And to get us started, we are going to bring up the amazing Mr. Gerlach, and he is going to talk about Rachel Berteau. Come on down.
Rachel definitely wanted to go first, I'm sure. Rachel actually heard the news about being the true Wildcat, and I was actually gone, I think, the day she found out, and she sent me an email saying, why did I get the true Wildcat award? So she gets to hear that today. So my expectations of Rachel might have been, quite honestly, I don't want to be negative, but I didn't expect her to be who she is this year and stand out like she actually is in class, which is great. Okay, Rachel typically would come in and just do her work like a normal student would. This year she's been coming in and actually asking a bunch of questions, and she's been kind of walking around the room a little bit more and noticing other things and how can I do this and how can I do that. And Rachel now has been making me work harder, which is good and bad because she knows how busy I can get during a period. But she asked me about printing like a multicolor print this year, which is, most people won't know, but she's actually going to do a CMYK print, which I haven't done in like 8 years. And so I told the kids, her and another kid are doing it kind of together. They're doing different prints, but I told them, I said, I can get you through the process of printing, but you need to figure out the steps to get there. And I just took a step back and I said, you know how to use the software, go. And so between her and the other kid, they just started, and it's been, now Dimitri has his up and ready to print hopefully by the end of the period, because he's in there right now. So hopefully he is actually doing what he's supposed to do, which I'm sure he is. But she's just kind of stepped out of her comfort zone, I think, to work that much harder in graphics. So I greatly appreciate that. It is her second time in Graphics 2 this year, and she's taking Graphics 2 again twice next year, which is awesome. So I hope she continues to push herself, because she's actually pushing me to be a better teacher, which I appreciate that. So besides being a super friendly and more talkative this year than she has been, student, she's just been striving to do better and do bigger and better things. So she's been great to have in class this semester, and I guess next year for an entire year again. So thank you, and it's been awesome.
I find it hard to believe that Rachel was quiet in your class, Mr. Gerlach, because Rachel is a student who advocates for herself. There were a couple things around here that she didn't think were necessarily that fair, and she came and talked to me about it, and we were able to kind of work through some solutions. So that kind of self-advocacy is great leadership. All right. Continuing on, we are going to bring up the fabulous Mr. Callison to talk about John Thomas. Come on down. What's that?
I don't have to bow, do I?
You don't have to bow. You just hang out right there so you get right on camera.
Hey, Nate, what's up? I've had John for the last 3 years, and John has, when John was a freshman, he really didn't have a good grasp of organization or a good grasp of what exactly it was that he wanted to do. John, 3 years later, has grown into a huge champion. He's up here because Doreen Lemke and I both work with him. And Doreen wanted to nominate him. Doreen couldn't be here today because she's out of the swim meet with her daughter. But I can't say enough about John. John is a daring student. John embodies the daring because he is a doer. He's a dreamer with his words. He wants to be a Marine. He loves to write. He has phenomenal thoughts and a phenomenal thought process. He's very innovative with the way how he thinks about things. He's also very nimble with being able to adapt. And he has been able to adapt to high school over the last 3 years. and I foresee his senior year being even that much better. He wants to be a Marine because his entire family is in the military. There's another reason why he wants to be a Marine, because he wants to prove to his grandfather, right? You want to prove to your grandfather that he could outrank his grandpa. So, and for that, I see John as being global. Not only thinking about himself, but thinking about others, but also thinking about protecting us as Americans, but also wanting to serve his country and wanting to do well for those that are around him. So my hats are off to you, John. John has done tremendous. So thank you.
You guys both get to go over here. And I told John when he came in today, he's got the coolest name in school because John Thomas is my son's name because mine is Thomas John. So John Thomas fits right in with my family too. All right. We are going to keep it going and bring up the marvelous Mrs. Kahn, who is going to talk about Grace Rossetti.
So when the opportunity came, I'm Mrs. Kahn, first of all. I'm a chemistry teacher, a science teacher. Chemistry is often difficult for a lot of students because it's kind of the intersection between a lot of science concepts that are abstract and then also applying the algebra that you learned, right, and often not in the same year. So trying to tie all those things together is something that's incredibly challenging. When I saw that I had Grace in my class this year, I was really excited about it because Grace was my student in biology 2 years before. So I knew Grace, and I just knew what a kind and sweet person she was. And in the beginning of the semester, we were able to kind of work on some strategies for how to work through some of the more challenging parts of chemistry. When Grace was a freshman, really trying to advocate for herself was one of the main areas of focus where we were working on identifying where it was that you needed help and then coming in and getting that help. And I feel that we made a lot of progress with that freshman year. But what Grace has done in her junior year has really just blown my mind. And she kind of stands out as the student that you want to show other students to be like, this is how you do it. This is how you get from point A to point B. The maturity that she's shown over the past couple of years has really been incredible. She's not only now able to advocate for herself, but start to identify where it is that she's having problems and coming in for help early. She went from a student who was struggling in chemistry to one that I'm now pairing with other students who are struggling so that she can support them. So that's really an amazing accomplishment over the course of a year. So I'm really just proud of the work that she's done. On a very personal level, Grace, I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but in some of the same ways that you struggle, my own daughter struggles. So it gives me an enormous sense of just hope and inspiration that that my daughter could someday turn out like you. So not only in your kind and sweet heart, but then also, in what you've accomplished in high school and what you'll accomplish beyond. So I was happy and proud to nominate you.
I think that's really cool, and we're hearing kind of that theme that our teachers are recognizing that the work we're assigning students is very challenging and very difficult, and not every student necessarily gets it right away or accomplishes it right away. And then some students, when they struggle like that, just kind of shut down and say, I can't do it. This is too hard. But the students that we're talking about today find that way to power through and persevere and develop really strong skills in the process. So congratulations, Grace. All right, we'll keep it rolling with, let's bring down the stupendous Mr. Chalipsky, who is going to represent the Q through Z LST and talk about Brian Stacy.
read off my notes. I don't want to miss anything. My name is Mike Chilipsky. I'm the team director of the Q through Z LST. And I first off want to start by saying it's awesome seeing so many students in that section of the alphabet here, so we're very proud of all of you. So when I think about students in the Q through Z LST or anywhere here in the school that embody the True Wildcat Award, Brian's one of those guys that definitely comes to mind. He's a young man that's high on character and always putting his best effort forward in everything that he does. It's my first year at LHS, and it's clear that it's students like Brian and everybody here that make this school so wonderful. This fall, I was lucky enough to coach Brian in football. As the season went on, I got to know him more and more, and I grew to like him even more. Those of you who may know Brian know that he's extremely friendly, he's quick-witted, and he takes great pride in just getting the job done, whether it's on the field or in the classroom. Those are all traits you love to see in a player, a student, a friend, and definitely a true Wildcat. Brian's the kind of young man who always goes out of his way to offer up a smile and say hello, even to the dean when it's not always the coolest thing when he sees me in the hallway. He makes sure to do that. It's the little things like that that may not show up in the grade book or in the scorecard or the box score the next day, but they will certainly go a long way in helping Brian be successful here at LHS and beyond. Most recently, I've seen Brian when he and his track teammates are either coming in or going out from the bitter cold for his long recovery runs. Brian's new to track and field this year. He's been an athlete all his years at LHS, but he's being daring, taking on a new challenge, embarking in a new sport, which is track and field this year. Of course, no matter how cold or tired Brian is when he is done from that run, he still goes out of his way to make sure he gives me a wave. So again, I appreciate that kindness. Whether it be challenging himself in the classroom or working hard to improve athletically or simply going out of his way to be kind to others, Brian certainly rises to the occasion and makes all of us proud. We're very proud to recognize Brian as this month's True Wildcat winner. Nice job.
Those cold track runs, you don't have to worry, only about 2 more months of that before we go. All right, our next presenter is the wonderful Miss Hubbard, who is going to talk about Kelsey Mazzy. Did I get that right, Mazzy? Maisie. Sorry, put the wrong, in my Chicago accent. Maisie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Donna Hubbard. Kelsey is my student this year. And Kelsey has been great all year. When I think of like words to describe Kelsey, conscientious, responsible. She's been doing just a great job all year. But the reason that something that stood out for me about Kelsey was she was going to be absent for an extended period of time. She made a point of telling me well in advance. And she wanted her work ahead of time. She really just wanted to make sure that she was caught up. And so she did that. And then when she came back, just a couple things that weren't finished, but she got that done like right away. And when she was absent, she missed a quiz on factoring, which that's a tough topic. There's a lot of different ways to factor. It's just a tough topic. And she came back, made up that quiz like immediately, and she got a perfect on it. Like just showed me that how hard she was working when she wasn't at school, and I just really appreciated her being so responsible to let me know ahead of time. So I just thought she did a great job on that, and she's been doing great all year, but that just really stood out to me. So that's why I nominated Kelsey, but she's been great all year, and I'm just looking forward to working with her for the rest of the year as well. So great job.
Nice work, Kelsey. And I wish some of our teachers were as diligent as you were to tell people in advance when they weren't going to be here, right? Because then we have the subs and stuff. So thank you for organizing all of that. All right, we are going to bring in, well, actually we have a stand-in. Miss Kerner is not here today, speaking of people who couldn't make it. But Miss Getch is here to talk about Colleen Welch. Come on down.
So normally when I fill in, it's a little bit awkward because I don't know the student, so I just read what the teacher wrote. But this is actually extra enjoyable because I had Colleen as a freshman, so 2 years later, here she is. Mrs. Kerner, who is struggling, her whole house has the flu right now, small children, yep. She isn't here, but she really, really was excited to nominate Colleen this year. She said, Colleen has shown great dedication to the study of Spanish. She's committed to speaking the language in class and consistently takes risks and actively participates in order to learn the language. As such, she has grown immensely this year. What's more is Colleen is the type of person who can walk into a room full of people and completely change the atmosphere. Her positive energy and outlook draws out the best in everyone around her. She is so dynamic that her classmates tend to follow suit and are willing to have fun with the language. Her role is as charismatic leader in the class is immeasurable, and I'm grateful for her presence every day.
All right, we have, fresh off a big orchestra concert last night, Mr. Marino, who's going to talk about Karen Tarman. Come on down.
Hello, I'm Jeremy Marino, and I teach orchestra. And when I was told, go to find a student of the month, you go through a list, and you can see if they've been nominated before. And I almost even look Karen up because I'm like, she's definitely been nominated. There's no way she hasn't been nominated, even though she's only a junior. And when I saw that she wasn't nominated, I'm like, oh, well, this is really easy now. I have my choice. So, Karen, as a freshman, I had this huge clump of cello players, and we only had one or two bass players. And I asked all the cellists, hey, can you try out bass and see if you might want to do this? And so they all kind of tried it out, but only a couple stuck it out. And Karen was one of them. And so going from being a cello player her freshman year, she's kind of applied this intense determination and perseverance and courage to work hard on it. And by last year, she was in the top group, the audition group, and then this year she was in the all-state orchestra. So she became one of the top 20 or so bass players in the state in a short period of time, which is just incredible. And it just kind of goes to that the qualities I just mentioned about just kind of plugging away and doing the work. And on top of that, she's just not a great player, but I mean that comes from this inner quality of just always doing her job, being respectful, wanting to improve, wanting to make herself better, wanting to make the group better. I was, during our shared conversations before we started this, I asked her to tell me why she was proud of her parents, and she shared about their decision to move over to the U.S. from Indonesia, about how proud she was about their determination and their perseverance. And so I was like, well, I'm seeing all those things in you. So, that was a great job by the parents, but it just kind of shows that she had a great model, and now she's sharing that model with not only my orchestra students, but all the people that she kind of meets. And what I love about this award, like Dr. Colentis was saying, is that, you have the people who are kind of the outgoing, what we would call the typical leader types, who are just everyone kind of knows, and they're great people too. But the people who you just say, hey, can you do this? And they nod their head, don't even say anything, but then you just know it's going to be taken care of and it's going to get done, it's going to be done really well. All those people who aren't the outgoing types, but just know how to get stuff done, they really are the leaders that I want to make sure that are acknowledged, because they make the machine run. And so it's with a great pleasure to nominate her and to have her in the orchestra program. Congratulations.
When I visited Mr. Marino's orchestra class, he assigned me to the bass as well. Didn't go quite as well as it did for Karen there. So I had my one note memorized, and Mr. Marino would just point at me, and I would pluck the string. Managed to do all right with that. So we'll just call it a success. Speaking of success, this young man is somebody that I know very well. Let's bring down the awesome Miss Munkin, who is standing in for Miss Keski. And Miss Price, are you going to talk too?
Well, I wasn't invited to because I've already nominated him once 2 years ago.
Okay.
But I would love to say all kinds of wonderful things.
All right. Well, if you want to come down, you can as well to talk about Jose Mendoza Silveria. Come on down.
So yes, I am Mrs. Munkin, and I have the pleasure to talk about Jose, who I just met. Mrs. Keski was very sad that she couldn't be here today, so I'm going to read what she has. But I will tell you that in just 5 minutes with him and his wonderful parents, I can see why she nominated him. So I first met Jose freshman year of PE. My first impression of Jose was that he was quiet and always did what he was asked to do. I remember him being very hardworking, kind, not afraid to ask for help when needed, polite, and always said thank you. Fast forward to senior year when he decided to join lifeguard training. What is really awesome is that besides him being taller, he was the same guy with the same type of personality. Hardworking, kind, polite, not afraid to ask for help, and always said thank you. Besides his amazing personality, Jose's hardworking attitude is what sets him apart from any other student. When Jose sets his mind to something, he gives 110%. This attitude showed in my lifeguard training class last semester. Lifeguard training is a class where students are Red Cross trained in lifeguarding, CPR, AED, and first aid in hopes to receive a lifeguard certification by the end of the semester. Yes, the class can be intimidating at first, very demanding at best, and you are learning how to save a person's life. However, if a student dedicates themselves to learn, practice, apply, and master all the skills needed to become certified, they will find this class very rewarding. When Jose began this class, he struggled on some of the prerequisite skills, as a lot of students do. What set Jose apart from others in the class was his perseverance to learn the skill at mastery level. Jose would come in before school and on Sundays just to practice these skills to be able to pass out on them. If coming in on Sundays to do schoolwork on things is not a dedication, then I don't know what is. Another thing that was awesome is he would always analyze his performances, identifying what he improved and what he still needed to work on to be better. He was comfortable learning from his mistakes and using them as tools to make him better. He was determined, and at no point in this process did he ever get down on himself and cave into the fact that maybe he just didn't have it. It was so awesome to witness the day he passed the final scenario test. For the final scenario test, a student has 3 minutes to rescue a submerged victim at the bottom of the pool that feels like a 200-pound brick. Swim to him to the edge of the pool, pull him out on a backboard, put plastic gloves on a wet hand, start a primary assessment, and then begin CPR. I remember Jose was so nervous about getting everything right. While others were being assessed, he practiced and practiced and practiced. He even asked to observe others that were going just to review. Needless to say, Jose's hard work and perseverance is what allowed him to master these skills, and he came out of the class with a well-earned certification. This is just one example of many of how he worked so hard in class. Jose is just an awesome kid. He always has had such an incredibly positive presence and attitude in class. He always showed up to the class prepared, always the one to sit in front of the class, eager to learn. He is very hardworking and dedicated student with an incredible drive. He never for once let his weaknesses stop him to what he set his mind to. In fact, it gave him more motivation to continue. I am so honored to have had Jose in my class and to get to present him with this True Wildcat Award. It is much deserved.
This is pretty awesome because Jose was one of the first people I met when I came here last year, and he took care of me and always made me feel comfortable, always said hi to me, kind of checked in on me. And I was kind of disappointed and depressed because I thought he was a senior, and I just learned that he's a junior. And so that makes me really happy that he'll be here for one more year. So it's awesome. Students, thank you so much for how you make our school a better place. You know, a lot of times we watch TV, we watch the news, we watch celebrities, and we see people being celebrated for things. But you embody what Maya Angelou talked about when she wrote that, you know, years from now, people will seldom remember what you did. They will seldom remember what you said, but people will never, ever forget how you made them feel. And what you have done at our school is made such a positive contribution and made many of the people in this building feel really good about being Wildcats. So thank you so much.